clinical is mandatory. That means it is not an option. I know that life happens. Make a plan for it now. And then make a backup for that plan, and then make a backup for your backup.
Sick kids don't count.
Sick kids, too bad. If you're a nurse and you're supposed to work today and your kids are sick, you better have a plan. Because 3 absences and they will fire you. And they don't care if your kids are sick. And they don't care if your daycare isn't open yet. And they don't care if your daycare changes plans. Make a backup plan and then make a backup to the backup. It's mandatory. If you miss clinicals, you may well be done in the class. I'm not being hard. I'm just telling you the facts. All right?
Especially if
Read
you
the
forget
policy.
to tell us. Because then that counts as 2.
If you do not call and report, as Heidi said, if you don't call us before and say, I have a flat tire, I'm on my way, I'm on the side of the interstate, but I have a flat tire, here's my plan, I can be here at this time, call.
Yeah, we're okay with that. I mean,
Call.
you're making an effort to get here. We just want you to communicate with us.
Unless it becomes a pattern.
Right.
We've had that.
Yes.
Oh, today it was my daycare, yesterday it was my car, the day before that it was this, and the day before that it was this. You don't have a good plan. Make a plan. You are responsible for this. Okay, well, don't call me after 8 o'clock at night. Don't call Heidi after 8 o'clock at night. Don't text us after 8 o'clock at night. And a text message, you haven't talked to me. You haven't talked to her. And an email, you haven't talked to me. You haven't talked to her. I may not have time to look at my email again until Monday or Tuesday. So your email to me. And besides, if you don't show up for clinical, how do I know you're not dead somewhere? I really do care. But you have to be responsible and you have to be an adult. That's part of being a professional, responsible adult.
We only give you these examples because
they've all happened.
Yeah. So
I could give you horror stories.
when it's 9 o'clock and we haven't heard from a student, we think surely they're professional enough to call us and tell us.
So, and they haven't, so they must be dead.
So something must be wrong, is where we start to go with that. Okay, so don't.
Okay. Any questions about that? Not after 8, not before 4. I have to get up at 4:45 to get here on time.
Yep, 4 o'clock here.
So don't call me before 4 and don't call me after 8 because I do sleep sometimes. Okay? And I have kids all over the country, so when I get a call in the middle of the night, it's not good. Don't let it be you. Because I figure they're either dead or in jail and I got to do something serious. Sometimes I think I would just leave them there if that were the case. Seriously. If you got yourself into that mess, I can take care of that tomorrow. Think about it for a few hours. Okay. There's some paperwork involved in this course, all right? When we get done with all that paperwork, 65% of your grade is based on your performance on the clinical floor. 35% of your grade is based on your paperwork grades. Your paperwork can fail you. Your paperwork could also save you, but it can fail you. Okay? So we'll get more into how that works, but I'm telling you, the paperwork is a big deal. I know it sucks. I know that once you get that little initial behind your name, you don't really have to do this kind of paperwork. You have to do other paperwork. It's really bad too, but you don't get graded on it. You just get paid because of it. Well, you get paid because you don't do it. You don't get paid because you don't do it. There you go. So, there are 3 care maps, 1 surgical paper, and 1 dialysis paper. They are papers. All right? APA format, there's regulations, there's points that those papers have to cover, there's rules about how they have to be put together. They take a lot of preparation time. Do not think you can wait to the last minute to do them.
And if you have no idea what APA is or what it means or how to put a header and a footer in, you better find somebody who does.
Because she's going to school too for her master's right now, and she's an APA Nazi. Okay? She's good at it too. And I used to teach English, so
if you need
write
help,
the paper.
Yeah, find it beforehand, which I'm more than happy to answer questions. And there's a writing coach here too, but just don't wait till after the fact, because there's like a third of the paper that's APA. I don't know if it's a little different than last time.
You will
but
notice
there's a good chunk that's just strictly on 5 or less mistakes, then you get like 0 points. I don't know if it's that strict on the new one, but it's kind of ridiculous. So make sure you know what you're doing.
Okay, care maps, we're going to show you some examples today. It requires critical thinking, and then you're going to create the map and present it to the class. The map includes patient data that will be organized by clustering and linking information, including pathophysiology and medical diagnosis, assessment data, treatments and labs and diagnostics, medications, procedures, psychosocial data, patient history, and health ratings. Nursing diagnosis, process information, teaching, dismissal data, diet information, prioritization of care. Can we think of anything else? Probably not, because we thought we covered it all, okay? Everything goes on it. And it has to be organized, and it's visual. And I don't care what size you make it. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. We'll show you some examples. The first one will blow your mind. And then you'll get your grade and you'll think, oh, I'm toast. And then you'll get better at it, because by the time you get to the third one, you'll be doing really good. Because you'll learn how to think like a nurse by the time you get to that third one.
Do we talk more about the papers?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to, and then we get to the surgery assignment. We'll talk more about that, but I want to draw your attention. You can read this paragraph. To the last sentence, 1 attempt will be allowed on this assignment. I am not reading it ahead of time before you turn it in. Take it to the writing coach if you need to. I will grade it, and I will give it back to you. And if your grade sucks on it, that's your grade. Go to the writing coach if you need help with the writing part of it and the APA. I will tell you what is required on the paper. I will help you with all of the regulations for the paper. I am not pre-reading it and proofreading it for you and saying, well, include this, and you forgot that, and you forgot this other, and fixing it for you before you hand it in. I won't do that.
And if you think about when this is due in respect to when you go to surgery, you might go to surgery on a Thursday or Friday. It's due the following Thursday or Friday, a week from when you did it.
1 week.
So that means, in your mind, prepping and saying, okay, I need to make an appointment with the writing coach when? Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, you know?
Good
In
point.
case you have to make corrections. And then that means having that paper written by Monday or Tuesday. So don't wait till Wednesday night, because the writing coaches fill up fast, and they're only here certain days of the week too. So plan ahead when you're thinking about your paper, that probably go home and write it. Get it done, get it out of the way, think about it, come back, tweak it, make your appointment. Okay, so
Plan.
Don't wait till the last minute to try and get in with the writing coach, because they fill up fast.
And then if we have a snowstorm,
Lucky you.
and you'll see that same sentence will appear under the dialysis paper. 1 attempt will be allowed for this assignment. Okay? Same thing. What we're trying to do is impress upon you that you need to plan for this, and you need to prepare for it and be a professional about it. Okay? Any questions? We'll get to the actual assignments. Yes?
If, let's say there were like a weather, like a storm or something like that, is it due the next following, like the following day when we return, or when would that?
Yes, and you can probably submit it online.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could probably even still email it.
Because I don't care if you email it to me as long as it's PDF and or a document and I can open it.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the care maps, you won't be able to email me those. Very good, but we'll present those in class. So if we'd have a weather event, we'd just do it the next class meeting. Okay? Then you get lucky.
In clinical, we'll present the care maps, or in class?
In clinical.
Yep, it'll be like.
It'll in our post-conference.
Yeah, it'll be a day where we get done a little early and then come back and have a party.
This covers attendance. Please read it carefully. Please read it carefully. You're adults, okay? You're adults who are becoming professionals. We expect you to conduct yourselves as adults who are becoming professionals. Okay?
And like Martha's, like we said before, we're only telling you this stuff to prepare you for what it's like in the real world. It's really annoying when the person who's taking over your patient load is 15 minutes late and you're waiting on them to give a report and you've had a shitty night and it's already been 13 hours and the only thing you want to do is go home. You're very irritated.
And your husband can't go to work because he's got to wait till you get home and take over the kids.
Yeah, and so when you're that person who's chronically 15 minutes late, nobody wants to give you their patience. Nobody wants to have
Follow
you take
you.
over, okay? So just think about it that way. It's respectful for your coworkers and us and everybody, so we can all get started on time and move along with the day, okay?
Please read this carefully. It's in your syllabus, therefore it's kind of like the 10 Commandments chiseled in stone, okay? Seriously. Because if you decide that you don't like it and you don't want to follow that rule and you go above our heads to complain about it, they're going to come to this document. And they're going to say, you already knew that. And you read the handbook and you signed the handbook page that you knew what was in there. I'm just saying.
It's
Okay?
not everybody's. that has something.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
Okay.
in there, but yeah, the handbook pages.
Okay.
Did everybody turn in their handbook page?
Because I won't make you do one for farm if I've got one.
Yeah, we only
already.
need one handbook page for the semester.
Perfect.
You've all qualified for clinicals, I suspect, or you would not be here. But BLS, basic life support, that's CPR. Okay.
I'll have to look at that chart and see if anybody's got
Is
expiring
anybody's
stuff.
CPR going to expire during this semester?
Mine is this month, but I already did it and I'm just waiting for the paper.
You're good.
How long is the CPR good for?
I think it's
A
2
year?
years.
2 years?
It's 2 years if you do it through.
Check your
yeah,
certification.
Yeah.
I have to know that it is up to date.
Do we need to print it off again and give it to you? Or
No,
is it
if
already-
you have given it to Katie, is that who's keeping ours?
I think
Oh my
so.
God. Then we should be good, but you should have had your flu shot and your CPR should be up to date.
And TB.
And TB. Is your TB gonna expire this semester? Gotta have it, okay? I can't let you on the clinical floor without those 3 things. Okay,
I should have a list. I'll look for that. I think.
okay. Will you call Jean?
I was just gonna say, yeah. I'll call her right now.
Math quiz, you're gonna take another one today. Like I said, you can take another one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but if you haven't passed that by the end of the day on Friday, you're out of this class.
Is there a max amount of time?
100%. Okay? Every one of them's a 10-question test, and they're basically the same kind of questions in every one of them. please read the syllabus. HIPAA, HIPAA, HIPAA. HIPAA, did I say HIPAA? I hate the word, but at the hospital, if you think we're HIPAA Nazis, whoa.
Remember my lovely presentation at the beginning of in the summer? Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Okay? There are no tests in this class. There's tests every single day you go to the clinical floor. That's all there is to it. Okay, let's talk about the schedule. I assume you've printed your schedule or you have your schedule on your phone where you can get to it really fast. So that's really lovely. So Heidi and I kind of work together a lot on our clinicals, and we'll be on the clinical floor at the same time. So really, we're working together. It's the grading that gets divided up between us. So whichever one of us basically is available to you. I mean, we're not like, don't come and talk to me, you're Heidi's student. It's not like that.
We'll
Okay?
split you up for checking your charting purposes, but that's about
Right.
it.
I'll be checking for my students too, because we grade that way, okay? So when we did our schedules, we did it so that it would coordinate well, okay? So hopefully everybody sees their, oh, why do I not have a person in that space? 6, 7, 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, I'm missing a person. I don't have a person there. Hit that button. Okay. Everyone see your name on there? Yes? Good. That is your schedule. Okay? So, we obviously went to Skills Lab yesterday. You have 8 hours of credit towards completion of this class. State Board of Nursing requires 190 hours of completion for this class. That's the state board's mandatory number. We will be getting at least 190 hours. That's why you have to be in clinical. That is why attendance is mandatory. Because if you're not there, you don't have 190 hours. And then I can't say to State Board, yes, they have met the qualification. Okay? You'll notice that I put 2 makeup days back here. Those are not for your convenience. Those are in case we get a snowstorm or an ice storm or some unavoidable problem that we have to make up for. Okay? Any questions about that? Today is orientation. We will be here till 3 o'clock. Okay? Now, will I ever be here longer than it says up here? You might. That will also depend on you. Because when we are working on the clinical floor, at the end of the day, you have to chart everything. So hopefully you're charting throughout the day. But at the end of the day, you have to have charted everything. We have to have checked it off. And when we have finished checking off your charting, if you have to fix it, you got to go back and fix it. You can't leave the clinical floor until your charting passes our inspection. Because when you're done charting, we have to go into the computer and say, I have checked this student's charting. It is acceptable under the law. It is acceptable under the nursing principles. You did okay, and you charted it. I'm not signing that until I'm happy that what you charted is acceptable. Because I worked really hard for my license, and I will not sacrifice it. Okay? Therefore, I have had to sit at the hospital after clinicals till 3, 4, 5 o'clock with students, and I don't do that more than once. Because I don't want to be there till 5 o'clock and then come back at 6 o'clock in the morning any more than you do, okay? And I can't leave until you've all finished charting. So I know that when we first start, it's hard to learn all the screens and how to chart and get it all right. But there comes a point where if you can't chart, this ain't working.
And it's listed on the evaluation as something that you're graded on. So you might be awesome on the floor, but if you can't chart and you get a 0, that's all it takes is 1 1 or 1 0 on there.
And you fail the
fail
clinical.
clinicals.
We'll get to that. Okay? So I'm not good at buttons. I hate buttons. But I am trainable. And I've learned the chart, I've learned the screens, and you can do it. Don't come and say, my password won't work. I can't get my password to work. Well, okay, first of all, whose problem is that? Exactly. Exactly. Now, that said, Good Sam's passwords suck. Okay? Some days my password doesn't work. And they're really famous for, oh, your password's expired today. We're going to teach you where to go to get it fixed. Okay? If you work at the hospital, don't go in under your hospital ID because that won't be a student. And then you'll be charting in a whole nother capacity. And legally, that's a mess. Okay?
Because you can do things as a student you can't do as an aide up there. If the ad ever got taken to court and it said you as an aide were passing meds, it could be a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay?
All right? So we'll be dealing with those passwords. But you know what? Keeping track of them and making sure you can get in and out of there, that's part of being an adult professional. What job can you go to and say, oh, I can't get in the computer today?
I wish. Peace.
Okay, so on Thursdays we have long days. On Fridays, hey, it's Friday. I have to dance, okay? I got stuff to do. So on Fridays we have a shorter day. That's good for everybody. So on Thursdays we work really hard. On Fridays we still work really hard, but we don't work as long. All right? Hopefully you'll get the same patient 2 days in a row, but that's the luck of the draw. Can't guarantee that one way or another. Some days you may prep for one patient the night before and they're gone the next day when you get there. That doesn't mean that you don't take care of patients that day. That means you got to do another prep. That's just how it works. Okay? We'll get to that too. So we have some extra observation things that you can do, and we'll be explaining those as we go. If you look at the little key at the bottom, CHG/WOC, that's the day that you get to follow the charge nurse, and then you get to follow the walk nurse, wound care nurse. That day you will not be on the floor taking care of patients. You will be following those two things and observing and learning those two positions, what they do and what their day looks like and the kinds of problems that they deal with in a day. That gives you a chance to kind of see different parts of the hospital and different positions in nursing, okay? The one that says purple and it says care on it, that's the care managers. The care managers are, they start their job as soon as admission happens, and they follow that patient's progress through dismissal, make sure we have placement, make sure we have home health if we need it. They have all kinds of little things to troubleshoot along the way. You'll really enjoy these experiences of watching and walking with these people because they're nurses who have specialized in certain areas and gotten a job doing certain things within the hospital, and they are a lifesaver to you as a floor nurse. Because if you have certain problems as a floor nurse, they're the ones that are going to handle those problems for you or help you troubleshoot those problems. It's really kind of fun we put them in because students like these experiences. The one that says dialysis that's green, on that day you'll be going to the dialysis center that's up behind Walmart, Overland Trails. And if you don't know where that is, there's kind of a strip mall behind the Walmart tire center and that next block, and that's where they're located. They do dialysis as an outpatient there. And that day you will be following the dialysis nurses. That's the day that you will be taking notes, and then you'll be doing your dialysis paper after that experience. You're only in their facility till 10 o'clock, I believe, in the morning, so it's a short day that you're there. However, the rest of that day is for you to work on your paper, okay? We built that into your hours for you. Because you're gonna have to do research and you're gonna have to work on that paper
And look at this stuff before you go in so that you can ask them questions.
that are useful to you, okay? So prepare for that ahead of time, then do the observation, and then do the paper, okay? And we'll talk more about that when we get to that assignment. But that day you won't come to the hospital. You'll go to Overland Trails.
You still show up at 5:45?
I believe that's the time we had. I'll confirm that with you. Okay. Yeah, you're the first victim, aren't you? Okay, then there's one that says sim. We'll go back to the sim lab 2 days. That's the blue one. There are 2 separate sim days in there. Those are mandatory as well. And you'll notice those go till 4 o'clock, 8 to 4. I know they never show up at 8 o'clock, but we do. Okay, till 4. Diabetic educator, that's within the hospital. You'll follow the diabetic educator that day. They actually don't come in till about 8 o'clock, but you'll come in at the regular 5:45 time and you'll do stuff on the floor, and then at 8 o'clock you'll go follow the diabetic educator.
And Sarah, I need to get a phone number from you to give to her, because sometimes they have to close the center just based off weather or something, so they like to have you guys' numbers in case they have to call you in the morning. Don't we have them come to the floor first and then
Yes.
like at,
Yes, because that way if they close, we can still get their hours in.
yep. And bring something to do. Sometimes they have charting and stuff. You should always have something that you need to work
Well,
on.
like, you can always study for theory.
Yeah, so take something with you just in case they've got to make phone calls or do something like that.
What else did I? OR, you'll be following that day. They'll tell you what time to be there, where to change clothes, where to scrub up, all those things. And then when you're done that day, you will either come to the floor if we're still there, or post-conference if we're still there. So you'll be joining back up with us, okay? Sometimes your surgical experience gets over early, depends on your case that you're following. Sometimes if it's a really short case, they'll give you 2 cases to follow. But they try to they kind of know how our day works up there, so they kind of try to keep you busy that long. But if you're done, just come to the floor or come to post-conference, whatever time it is. Okay?
You should like surgery.
Yeah, most students love surgery.
And we need to show up to surgery in like our regular.
No,
Nope.
they'll have you scrub and
You
change.
can go
Okay,
in
so
your
we could wear like
pajamas.
Yeah, whatever, you can come your sweatpants if you want.
Okay.
That's how surgery staff rolls.
That's how they go.
That's
It's a
what I was
great
curious.
gig that way.
So if
And
we
if
have to
you-
come back on the floor though, should we bring our scrubs just in case?
You won't be taking care of patients, but you might be doing something on the floor, so yeah, don't come in your pajamas, but
Right.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
you could. Okay,
And if you like it, a lot of times just talk to them and you can go back on
They'll let you
a
come
day
back
of your
whenever.
choice and you can go.
oh yeah, they love to have you come there because they wanna recruit you.
Yeah.
And that's not something you have to do another paper round. That's on your own
No, it's just
time for your own enjoyment. You want to go watch open heart
professional
surgery.
development.
Yep. Which is awesome.
Looks good on your resume too.
So,
Okay, and then, let's see, I've covered everything there except
critical thinking.
critical thinking. The day you have critical thinking, it's a paperwork assignment that we give you, and you will be presenting that to the class in post-conference, what you found in your critical thinking assignment, and we'll get to that, but you'll have 2 patients with something that is similar. Now, they may not have the total similar they might not have the same diagnosis, but they might have 2 completely diagnoses and they're both diabetic, or the same diagnosis and they're both alcoholics, or different diagnosis and they're both, one's 80 and one's 20. So there'll be something you're comparing in that critical thinking assignment.
I think it's kind of nice to do those too, because on the floor you don't always have the extra time to go digging in as much as you want with some of these. So it's a good way to really look into pathophysiology and just a lot of different aspects that we don't always have time for on the floor. So I think it's a good way to kind of wrap your brain around some things.
You'll have access to both charts, and you can go into both computerized charts, paper charts, both, because though that's acceptable. That's not a HIPAA violation if that's your assigned patients, 2 of them, okay? And you'll be doing a lot of digging into that patient. You can go interview those patients.
Yep.
You can go assess those patients, but you're not going to take care of those patients. Okay? Most there's a lot of paperwork, and that part's not all that much fun, but most of the time students really learn a lot doing this assignment.
But it's not graded. That's the good part. Still
But you do have to
it.
present it to us. And it counts as clinical.
Yes. So you still
So if
get,
you did a crappy job on it,
yes.
I have to grade your critical thinking on your clinical section as lousy. Okay? Does that make sense? I don't put a number on your paper. I just grade your performance on it. Okay, we'll get to those assignments. Does everyone understand their line? Okay? Evaluations will be on, go up a little. There. Evaluations will be on April 25th. We won't go to the hospital that day. We will come here and we'll do 1-to-1 evaluations.
And we do like a mid one, I think at MAP 2, like in the second half of that day.
Yeah, we'll probably do it like
'Cause I think we do like the first half.
after like when we do the second, I don't know, we'll do it someday
Yeah.
in post-conference or something. Because we do a midterm evaluation to tell you how it's going, so that you're not surprised at the end. That way, if there's something that you're doing that's like causing you distress, I can say this better end. Or if you say that I'm doing something that's like bugging the heck out of you, you can tell me that. Don't wait till then. And be careful with that, because I might not care. Just saying. Okay, the day we do MAP presentations, you'll see February 1st, March 8th, April 4th. We don't go to the floor those days either. We'll come to the school for those.
Do you want us to wear our scrubs those days, or?
No, you can wear business casual and your jacket, okay? When you go to SIM, you have to wear your uniform.
Question,
Yes, ma'am.
do we have to wear business casual, or can we wear our scrubs?
Sure, you can always
Okay.
wear your scrubs.
Yeah.
Um,
Amen, I vote scrubs.
yeah, they're pretty handy. And then I do have the 2 makeup days scheduled, and if we would have some kind of an event where we have to call off school,
Sorry.
we can do that, because we've got 2 days to work with.
Don't
Okay.
make us have to use those.
Yeah,
We
don't
wanna be
make me
done.
have to call you.
If there's I keep going back to weather, will we be told, what is the?
Oh, no, hardly ever, because you know who calls it off? The officials at Grand Island that come in at 8 o'clock, and we've already been on the floor for 4 hours.
Okay, I was curious,
But I pay attention because my husband's in agriculture and he knows the weather better than the weatherman, okay?
And Martha's gotta drive for like
And I
2
drive
hours
an
away,
hour,
so-
yeah, I drive well over an hour to get here. So, and I also live west and south of here, so the weather gets bad where I am before it gets bad where you are.
So we'll send out a group message in the morning saying, stay home,
Or we're gonna start late, or whatever it might be.
just for our knowledge. Who drives from out of town? Anybody?
You got it.
Everybody, okay. Where do you guys all come from?
Johnson Lake.
What, Lexington, Johnson
Johnson.
Lake,
Holdridge.
Holdridge?
Hastings.
Okay.
You're gonna get more snow than the rest of us this weekend. They backed us all off to a couple of inches.
Oh, I didn't
But
even
you
know.
might get 5 or 6.
It's gonna
It's
snow
supposed
this
to
weekend?
snow?
Yep, start
You know
tonight
what?
at 6.
I walked
Tonight at
out and
6.
I said,
Oh my
No.
god.
You wanna know the weather? I'll text my husband. He'll say, 20 minutes, we're gonna get a light rain, and he's always right. And then you know what the sucker does? He checks the Farmer's Almanac. I'm like, what? Voodoo? No. But he is, yeah.
hey, I walked outside and I said, it smells like snow.
Yep.
And I didn't even
It
know that it
sounds
was
like snow.
supposed to.
It is-
It
I
did,
can
it
go outside and
smells
tell you
like,
if it sounds
I
like
smell
snow.
cows.
it smells, I don't know, almost like refreshed, like, I don't know.
But you can tell like when it's about to rain, like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you can smell that.
Is that a Mean Girls moment or you can?
It's raining.
So, I'm just saying, I try to stay on top of that and I will that's why I created that group text. That's where I'll be using. Did everybody get that group text?
Yes.
Okay,
You didn't, okay.
who didn't? Oh,
Sarah.
Sarah.
I think she's
You
the
need
only
to
one.
text Heidi your number right now. And she'll make a new group text and put you in it. Yes, ma'am.
So if we don't use the snow days and say one, like if we were deathly ill and we couldn't make it to clinical, can we use one of those makeup days?
Yes.
Yes,
That we missed?
yes, we will, but you'll owe me lots of money. Because I have to come in. If you have to come in on those makeup days, Heidi or I have to come in on those makeup days.
Let's see. But if you're legitimately sick,
Yes.
don't come in.
Don't come if you have a
But
fever.
you gotta call us to tell us that.
Don't come if you have a fever, you got pus running out of you somewhere. I mean, I don't want to, no. Put a Band-Aid on it,
If you have influenza, don't come to clinicals. I think that's, a no-brainer.
okay?
Nope.
But
Apparently
don't
not.
call me and say, my kids have blah, 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 I gotta stay home. That's gotta be in your plan.
And if you guys don't answer the phone, do you want us to leave a message?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Or just keep calling,
Yes.
Definitely. Or text and text, but if you don't get a response from us,
We're
we didn't
dead.
get it.
If she's not at the 4:30, she's late, cause you have to drive further, you have to get
I get up at 3,
Got it.
a little after 3,
she doesn't answer.
3:30. Just don't call me before 4.
I never sleep because I have children, so I'll probably see it.
She'll
Hey, I
be
know
on
that
the,
feeling.
she'll be asleep on the floor in front of the crib.
Yeah.
You should get that child a dog.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
She'll be back.
Get the child a dog.
I just fell asleep. For the 18th
He needs a
time.
little fluffy dog that sleeps beside him.
He has
Then
a
you-
big shark named Bruce that he sleeps with. Yeah.
Okay, any questions about this schedule? Seems like every now and then we have to like recreate the schedule for some reason, but
Yeah,
this is what we're
not
starting with.
set in stone by any means.
We'll let you know if it changes,
Yes.
okay? Where it says MSU, you're going to second floor MSU.
If there aren't enough patients, we sometimes
Then we have to get creative.
Okay.
Oh, we could tell you horror stories.
Worst case scenario, we have to go to 3 North, I guess.
Oh, say it ain't so. I don't like joints. Well,
Oh,
not
you mean the
that
floor
kind.
that closes down constantly?
They're just not very nice.
No,
They're not.
not at all.
They're all nice to me.
No,
Yeah, they're not.
Except that one nurse to you.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No, the one I was like, go do this now.
I don't do that. I used to, but I grew up.
What?
Never mind. You already did that. I assume you watched these videos, right? Don't be that nurse.
I saw one on First Skills Lab checkoff, and I wish I could have played it for you guys yesterday, but it was hilarious.
Maybe we should watch that today.
It was so funny. I'll find it and we'll.
Be a professional. Watch the videos, okay? I love videos that teach you something, and these, they can teach you more than 5 minutes than you can learn in a lifetime if you pay attention, okay?
Is there attire on there? Did we talk about that?
A what?
Clinical attire?
Attire, yeah, we'll get, yeah, you wanna talk about clinical attire? Do it.
We're not gonna make you do that like some instructors.
We're not gonna check your underwear and your
Not
socks.
gonna check your underwear, your socks, or your bra color, but just come and look nice. If your hair is longer than probably mine, it needs to be back, it needs to be out of your face. Don't have hanging things, because sometimes they'll get a detoxer and he'll take that lanyard, you know. So have your retractable, whatever those things are called, the badge holders on. Your shoes don't have to be white, but just don't come like you walk through a pig pen and there's mud all over them and you look disgusting.
Mostly you don't wanna take those shoes home and wear them through your house.
Yeah.
Cause the stuff you walked in there, you do not want in your house.
So just come, clean scrubs, look nice. I mean, you don't have to put makeup on, just don't look like,
Oh, yes, you do.
I don't sometimes
I
put makeup
do.
on. I mean, you know,
Well, let me prepare you for next semester already. Where you will get Mrs. Quadhammer for your clinical instructor.
that's what I'm saying.
You better have your hair and makeup done. Cause she's gonna look at you and she's gonna check your granny panties. Make sure you have them on. And not a thong hanging out of the back of your pants. I seriously have had that. I will send you home, I swear to God. That's so gross. When you bend over, I should not see stuff that I don't want to see. Okay? Serious as a heart attack.
Do you guys care what color of undershirt we have on?
White.
Only white, no navy.
If you put a shirt, what are they supposed to have? They're supposed to have navy tops or white tops?
white tops and
White
navy
tops and
jacket.
navy pants, right?
I mean, like, cause Lexi has a navy
Yeah.
shirt underneath.
Yeah, well,
I
Quad
think-
won't let them.
Well, Quad
Was
won't, but,
Quad the
I
one
mean,
yesterday?
Is green.
no.
Cause she, at the.
No, that
No,
was Bev,
that
or
was
no, that
Bev.
was Barb.
Oh, okay.
That bar, yeah.
Cause she questioned my gray shirt.
Yeah, oh yeah,
She didn't say anything to me.
oh yeah, they'll say white.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess probably
White.
shoot for white. Sorry. Wait, it's not that we care, I just
I
don't
don't
want
care,
you to get,
But I don't want you to get in trouble, and I don't want you to get lax, and then next semester, when you go to those clinicals, they say, who told you you could dress like that?
yeah.
They'll be like, oh wait, I know who it was.
But other than that, other than the white shirt, I mean, we're pretty, you can wear your fun socks.
Oh yeah, we wear compression socks all the time. Get some.
I wear them on
You're
my days
young
off. Are
and
you
you want to
kidding me?
save your legs.
You don't want nasty varicose veins.
Yeah, so start now. And besides, they're comfortable.
Make you feel a lot better too.
Oh yeah, the only bad part is putting them on.
I have a question, like, on facial piercings, like a nose piercing,
You're not supposed to have those.
not have them at all, okay.
Correct.
All
So
right.
if you got a nose ring, take
But
it out.
didn't we talk, God, I feel like,
You can have one
I
set.
feel like we did
That's what they
something
say.
in one of our nurse meetings last year that it's,
Yeah, but I don't think it was facial piercings.
but it's whatever Good Sam's policy is.
Yeah,
Good
what is
Sam's
it?
is you can have 3. You can have 2 in your ears and 1 on your face, but that's it.
Yeah, so like,
Just be really careful with those because I don't personally care, but we also get patients that are nutty as a fruitcake and you don't want them ripping out your nose ring.
So I don't wear earrings anymore.
but I think, I don't know, we can ask Judy too today, but I think it just reverts back to whatever the
Hospital.
hospital's policy is.
But it's also about safety.
Mhm. Don't wear like a chain.
That's fine.
That's where I was gonna hang my badge from.
You will have one nostril. Then.
Better not have any gauges, not gonna work, probably.
But I think that's, yeah, I think, otherwise I
Cats,
think that's.
cover them up. I don't really see any that are gonna cause me any distress.
I'm gonna go get a big tribal crash.
I know, I saw yours, but
I was gonna say mine are.
No, and I
past
think
my
that's,
sleeves.
I
That's
think
why I
we
wear the
talked about it,
jacket.
that it was okay that as long as it's, I don't know, you don't have a,
tasteful.
you don't have reproductive
I don't want any,
organs on your arm
So if
or
it sticks out a
something,
little
then,
bit,
if your
Yeah.
mother's showing, hanging out, never mind.
what'd you say?
if it sticks out a bit, is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, as long as it's
I'm
not
gonna,
like,
I'm not gonna be worried about it, but I'm just gonna say, read the handbook, because somebody could take you right back to that handbook and say, see that right there?
if you have a big old fuck you on your chest and they can see that at the hospital, I would cover it up.
I personally have a DNR on mine, so that if, never
Right
mind. Big DNR.
You also have the names of doctors that you want to work on?
Yes.
No, the ones I
That's
don't
on,
want.
that's on the other end.
Well, I figure the ones that you don't want is gonna be a lot longer list than the ones you do want.
I don't really care. I just,
That's true.
just
And
the
nurses.
DNR is all I
Yeah.
care about, really. I've
Doctors,
almost died
nurses.
twice. I might tell you those stories. I'm serious. I already really have almost died twice, and I am not worried about it a bit.
I say Dawn told some funny ones of you
Really.
when you
That's
left
probably
your
not
one
good.
kid.
Oh yeah, I've done that too. I have 9 kids. It's hard to keep track.
Oh,
She said about the buddy system and
Oh, yeah, I have a
one
buddy
got
system.
left behind on vacation
Yeah.
and he was running behind the car.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Tom did tell us that story.
It's true.
Look at
That
Thomas,
kid
pretty
learned a
good.
lesson. They were not late ever again. Now, the other kids that messed up the buddy system for that to happen, they were in deep doo-doo. Because somebody yelled that number, right? The buddy system was countdown. When you get in there, get in the car, I would yell countdown. And you were supposed to say your number. Well, somebody yelled their number. And off I drove, and there was some little smart aleck back there that called the wrong number.
It's probably Gretchen.
No, she's the one that got left.
Oh, it was?
She was running. Gretchen went to school with her.
Yeah, she knows some good stories, unfortunately.
I know all about her. Be careful who you hang out with.
It's true. You never know when
How
you
to take
get
her.
there.
Never mind, I'm not doing that.
That's a later day.
Oh, yeah. Small world. Okay, this little checklist in here, this is like your mother thing. Did your mother hang up a checklist with stars for you? This is to help you keep track of your life, and it's the most I'm going to do for you, okay? So, you'll notice this math test. Once you pass your math test, it's going to be on there, and I'll say, yep, they passed. Because until you pass your math test, you can't pass meds on the floor. Okay? Once we've done skills day, we'll check that off. See these words, anecdotal? Those are the days you have to hand in an anecdotal. Except I kind of goofed. The days that we do the maps, you don't have an anecdotal. Okay?
And if you do surgery or dialysis,
You won't
don't
have an
do
anecdotal
anecdote.
that day. But if you do surgery one day and you take care of patients on the floor the next, you do.
You will, yeah.
Okay? So what you'll do is like, what if it says anecdotal, we'll write surgery. Then I'll know I don't have to look for an anecdotal. This is basically to keep me, because if I don't get an anecdotal from you on the day that it's due, you didn't do your job. Because if it didn't charted, you didn't do it. And that's my charting on what you did.
Are they handing them in on Tuesday? Tuesday
Yeah.
in farm?
Tuesday at farm,
Yeah.
that'll work.
That's what they
Except for Sarah, she doesn't, does
For
Sarah
the
come?
previous.
Oh, yeah, she comes in.
article days.
You come in on Tuesday anyway, don't you? Yeah,
Yeah, so just either drop it off at my desk or, yeah.
yeah.
If you trust one of these guys.
Your
give it to
anecdotals
them.
are due on Tuesday.
Okay. Even like the one that we had on, like. if
For
you
the
were to
patients
this-
on, like, for example, yesterday and today was your clinical. Your anecdotals are due on Tuesday.
Okay.
And you do one for each day?
No, you do one for the week.
One for the week.
And if you had 2 patients or 4 patients, doesn't matter, one anecdotal.
Okay.
Now, the anecdotal's online, so you don't have to just use the space that's there. You can like adjust it a little if you need to. And you're going to talk about the experience. So you might talk about several different patients on that anecdotal. We'll get to that. But this is to help you keep track of that everything's done, and it's to help me keep track that everything's done. When you hand stuff in, I put it in here, and I grade it, and your name is in here, like so. Behind your name is your stuff. Don't look at other people's stuff. Just yours. Okay? Because looking at other people's stuff, that's sort of like HIPAA. But this way, you can put stuff here. I can put stuff here when I'm done, and that way you can find it and look at what I graded. Because like if I spend time grading it and writing on it, you should probably read it. Okay? Otherwise, you might do the same mistake from now then and not ever correct it. Okay? I'll probably just send this with Heidi on Tuesday. Okay? Then you can put it in there. And she has her own folder. Hers aren't in here, just mine. Okay? This keeps me from losing stuff.
I try to get it back to you as soon as possible, but,
So our, sorry.
oh, sorry.
In our clinical, it has last semester's time or date. So will this new one be updated on our portal?
Are you in mine?
She might be on mine.
I'll just send Heidi the new one.
Yeah, it's probably me. Sorry.
So we're gonna turn in an anecdotal for these 2 days.
No.
Next week.
No.
You
it-
won't turn in an anecdotal on Tuesday.
So where it says anecdotal, we do an anecdotal.
You. And when you turn in your anecdotal, at the top, well, let's go to anecdotal. Oh, I'll get to that. I'll get to the anecdotal. Down at the bottom, it's your paperwork assignments, the possible points, and then I'll put what you got. Okay? That way I know that I've graded those papers and I've gotten your papers. If your paper's late, I discount it 5% for every day it's late. Yes, ma'am?
Are the rubrics for the papers like on there of what information?
Yep.
The assignment's there, the rubric's there, and in most cases, there's also an example of what it looks like. Okay?
I better check my stuff here.
If I need to send you a new one, I will.
Yeah.
I want to skip down to the one that says anecdotals. Remind me to go back. Anecdotals are required for each week. Check the clinical checklist. If you're not certain which weeks they're due, no matter if you have 1, 2, or 3 patients, you will have one anecdotal, which will be a summary of the entire week's experience. Anecdotal notes are kept in your nursing file forever here at the college. Probably some of mine, no, I don't know if they still have those. They should be accurate, neat, complete, and typed. Because I can't read your handwriting sometimes. And especially when you have to start writing real little to fit it in there. Anecdotals are due, this says Wednesday, which we're going to change that to Tuesday because you come in on Tuesday. You used to just come in on, last semester they just came on Wednesday because they had pharm and med-surg on the same day. You guys get a little break that way. They must be printed, signed, and dated when they're reviewed. Please date the front of your anecdotal, this is really important, at the front of the page with the dates of the experience, not the date you handed it in. Okay? Otherwise I get all confused. Only the anecdotal is kept in your file. Okay, so let's look at those anecdotals. The anecdotal, this is where you will date, and it says date of clinical experience, not the date you handed it in, the date that you were on the floor, okay? And your name, gotta have it. You notice that they're numbered 0, unacceptable, through 4, outstanding. Hopefully I do not have to give any zeros. Hopefully I don't have to give many 1s, below average. Most of you will work towards a 2, which is average. That's the expected. Or above average, which means you're really doing a great job. Hardly ever do I give 4s. Hardly ever do I give 4s. And I've only given a handful of 0s. If you're getting a 0, worry. A lot. This tells you what that means to have a 0. Unsatisfactory, unsafe, that's why you got the 0. Unskilled, dependent, that means you have to come and say, is this? Dishonest, oh my God, that will cut your throat right there. No second chances for that, period. No ability to follow through on your own. Those are unsafe practices. Consistently requires close supervision and correction. You don't think I'm watching you sometimes on the clinical floor. Every semester, students say, you never watched me. Or they get mad at me because they don't like their grade and they say, well, she doesn't know, she never watched me. I can see you. I watch you. I ask questions of your primary nurse every week. There's a lot of you, I can't be in your room all the time. If I'm not in your room all the time, that means that what I've seen is safe, and I trust you to tell me what I need to know and to come to me with important things. If I'm looking over your shoulder all the time, it means that I'm worried about you. Okay? So, it's kind of like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, only you don't want to be that squeaky wheel. So, I'm just saying, don't think I'm not watching you or that no one's observing you, because it's not true. Okay? Average performance, it means you meet your expectations. It's acceptable preparation. You're honest, you're cooperative, you have adequate problem-solving skills. I can trust you. You might need an occasional reminder or an occasional cue, or I might ask you questions here and there. I want to ask you questions on the floor. I ask you questions all the time. But you know what kind of questions I should be asking you? Things that help you think about the care of your patient, or what's wrong with your patient, or medically nursing appropriate questions. I shouldn't be asking you, did you take your trash out? Is your patient room cleaned up? Did you untangle all the cords in there? Is your patient up in the chair? Did you make sure they had breakfast? I shouldn't have to ask you those questions. I want to ask you, okay, so you see this lab on your patient here? What does this mean? That's the kind of questions I want to ask you. Because those will help you to grow as a nurse. Those other things, you're a CNA, you know those things. I do not want to see CNA skills. Now let me qualify that. You know how to be a CNA. I expect you to be a CNA. I expect you to get your patient up in the chair for breakfast. They should not be eating breakfast in bed if they can get in the chair. I expect you to walk your patient at least 2 times in the hallway. I expect to have your patient get a bath. I expect them to have their hair combed and their teeth brushed and their shaved. I expect those things because you know how to do those things. You learned those in CNA. You're still going to do those things. You're going to take out the trash. You're going to keep the room clean. You're going to open the shade so it's not a dungeon in there. Okay, those are all CNA skills that you already know how to do. I expect that you are an exceptional CNA right now. But if you remain an exceptional CNA, you will not get a good grade in this clinical. Because you gotta move on and think like a nurse. Okay? A nurse is not above any of those things. You will still do all of those things. You'll still clean up your patient. Okay? But a nurse does all those things while they're thinking of the important stuff. Okay? Now, there's a CNA on the floor. There's like 1 for 20 patients. She loves you because you help her lighten the load. But you know what else? She's an excellent CNA, so she sees what you do, and she tells me because she likes me, because I went to school with her, like since 6th grade. Okay. So, move on. Don't be a CNA anymore. Be more. They love us on the floor because we are excellent, and we're a team. So like if Lindsay's patient is a mess and you're not busy, Lindsay can come and say, can somebody help me? And you'll be like, yeah, I'm on it. I'm all over it. We work together. If somebody on the floor, any nurse, says, I need help with this, you're on it. If there's a call light going on, you answer it. Now that's a little tricky now because they got those silly lights up there and we don't carry phones, but pay attention to what's going on around you, okay? We're not above any of it. We do it.
We don't expect you to answer every patient on the floor.
No.
Because we have to be,
Safe.
yes.
We don't know what they have on their
Right.
list. But you can always say, let me find your nurse. And if they need a drink, that could even be a problem because maybe they're NPO. Let me ask. Okay?
But yeah, teamwork.
Teamwork is the key.
You won't survive in real life unless you have
No, you
nurses that are good team players.
And if you're not a team player, you won't have any friends.
Yeah.
You probably won't have a job very long either. Okay, so that's just how the rubric for the anecdotal. Okay, there are 20 items on this list. There's a lot of words in these items. So I'm gonna let Heidi talk to you about them because she's better at them than me. But here's how we grade them. You grade yourself here. Be very objective because I'm gonna be very brutal.
Don't
Objective.
give yourself all 4s.
Don't give yourself all 4s. Or I'm going to say, okay, there's a student that is not safe. Because when you start thinking you know it all, you're dangerous. And I'm not kidding about that. When you become a nurse, you should be terrified. When you go on the floor as a brand new nurse, you should be terrified. If you're not, you're dangerous. Because you don't know it all when you get that little RN initial behind you. All that is beginning level. And you've only seen a teeny little tip of the iceberg of what there is ahead of you. And you're going to learn every single day you go to work. If you don't, you're not safe. Okay? You want to talk to him about what these are?
Sure. Alrighty, so the first one investigates the patient's unique physical, cultural, economic, psychosocial, and spiritual needs when providing care. So are you taking the patient as a whole into consideration when you're doing their care for the day? Okay, do they have certain needs? Are they down and depressed? Do they have certain rituals that they like to do during the day? Are you taking that kind of thing into consideration when you're planning their care? Okay, their physical needs. Are they an older person, a younger person? Okay, you don't treat everybody the same. Examines developmental stage tasks when planning and providing care. Same thing, sometimes we have patients from Mosaic that are in. Are you caring for them at the level that they're at? Okay, they might be 30, but maybe they're at, a 9-year-old level. Okay, so you're taking into consideration their developmental levels or their stages in life. Okay, requires patient data and information to adequately prepare for the day's clinical assignment. Are you looking through their history, their medications, their labs, diagnosis? Are you going through their chart and getting all that information in order to thoroughly take care of your patient for the day? Okay, just because it's not in the chart, sometimes these patients are like day 1 or day 2. The doctors haven't had time to type up an A or an H&P, ask the nurses, talk to the patient, God forbid, okay? They have a medication on their home list and it's not anywhere in the chart. What do you think you could do? I don't know why they're taking it. It's not in their chart. What would you do in that case? Ask the patient, maybe. Why are you taking this? Sometimes they know more than we think they know. Okay, so talk to the patient, ask them. Interprets data. Are you looking at those labs and their assessments and making correct conclusions? Okay, or are you way off base? Do you customize their plan of care? Do you have goals that are specific to that patient? Okay, let's see here. Promote optimal wellness for up to 2 patients. Don't put NA on that line because we won't get to 2 patients for a while, and sometimes when there's 10 of us on the floor, that might not even be an option. Okay, so some of you might have 2, some of you might not. It just means that you're providing an optimal level of care for 1 or 2 patients. Okay, safe patient-centered care. That's a big one. Are you getting them up safely? Do you know their meds? Okay, are you getting, if they're a 2 assist, are you doing it on your own? Are you getting adequate help? Okay, are you safely taking care of that patient? The next one is med knowledge. Don't be surprised if for a long time you're getting 1s, maybe 2s, because you don't know the meds. Okay, if you do, I'll be very surprised. But it takes a while to get past that. So don't be like, I'm failing if you see that 1 there for a while. It's just that
You better be improving.
yes, you need to be improving. Don't come to clinical week after week and it's week 10 and you still can't tell me what Colace is, the stool softener, by the way, but you should know things like that.
Are
Yep.
we doing like the night before preparation or how is that? 'Cause I
We'll
know
talk
we-
about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get to that.
Okay.
But yeah, so look up your meds. And one thing that kind of drives me nuts is when we go to give meds, you should have already done your prep for those. Last year we would do it in the morning, and we get there early. We get there, what do we say, 5:45?
Yes.
Okay, so that gives you plenty of time. I think they don't start report until 6:30, might even be later than that. 7 now, I think, is when they start their stuff on the floor. Okay, so that gives you plenty of time to go look through meds, look up meds, do what you need to do to learn those medications for the day. Now it might be earlier, at least for the first few weeks. But when I quiz you on them, you shouldn't have your piece of paper, that's not knowing your meds. Okay, anybody off the
Read it.
street can open up a drug book and read verbatim out of the drug book what that means. That does not mean that you know what it's doing. Okay, so know your meds.
She's a med Nazi too.
Yeah,
Because she
it's
teaches farm.
important. Yeah, you gotta know why they're getting those things. And so you're interpreting their response to your care. Okay. What happens when you're doing their care? You're giving their meds. Are they doing poorly? Are they improving? Do you need to change what you're doing because it's not working? Maybe you've got kind of a butt patient for the day. Maybe you need to change your approach on how you communicate with them. Okay, or maybe they don't understand what you're saying. You need to come at it from a different direction. Okay, so are you kind of responding to how they're responding to you? Are you taking what you learn in theory and putting it in your clinical practice? Okay, can you take what Martha tells you, for what I tell you on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and bring it to clinicals, are you totally missing the picture? Let's see here, pathophysiological changes. So based off what's can happen to them, let's see here. Does that explain why they're in the hospital? Can you see what their past history looks like that's brought them to this point? Okay, maybe they're diabetic and now they're in because they've got a black toe. Maybe they were getting their foot amputated. Okay, can you tell me why, because of their past history, has brought them to this point? Okay. And the only reason we know that sometimes is what you put on your anecdotals. Okay. If I haven't talked to you about that in clinical and you don't write about it in your anecdotal, I don't have any way of grading you on it unless you tell me about it, okay? Let's see. Seeks opportunities for professional growth. Are you volunteering for things? When the nurses come around and say, hey, we're giving flu shots, anybody want to do it? Do you sit there with, with your hands underneath your butt because you don't want to get picked? Or are you
on my phone?
Yeah. Are you like jumping to go do new things? Hey, we have a Foley. Are you, volunteering for things like that? Are you looking to expand what you know? Effective time management. This is a big one. Okay. Are you here till 5 o'clock charting? Okay. Do you wait till 8 o'clock to go in and do your first assessment? I hope not. Unless your nurse tells you don't go in that room, you need to be in there ASAP, getting going, getting started. You have 10 minutes to sit down and chart your head to toe assessment, do it. Come back 10 minutes later and you're gonna chart their ADLs, do it. Do one, every time you get a chance to chart, do it. Because I'll tell you, it sucks when it's 12 hours later and you haven't charted a thing on any of your 4 patients, you wanna cry because you're gonna be there for 3 hours charting. Don't let that happen to you. It gets busy, do little bits at a time when you get the opportunity. Okay.
Make a plan.
Yep. If it's 11 o'clock and you haven't charted your first assessment, now it's time for your second assessment, because things happen, things pop up and you get pulled in different directions. When you get free time, hop on that charting. Okay, because then before you know it, you'll have 2 patients and now you've got to juggle 2 patients charting. So just when you get a minute, shouldn't see you just sitting there chit-chatting or on your phone.
That means
Okay.
you need something to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really good at that.
Yep.
Like when there's nothing to do on the floor, we fill boxes.
Let's see here. Contribute to quality improvement measures. They send us things. Are we washing our hands? Are we giving them their CHD baths to help prevent catheter infections?
Well, I don't
that's
want a
just-
bath.
Yeah.
I don't want a bath.
Okay, what happens when your patient tells you that? Do you just say, okay, peace out? Or do you try and educate them a little bit about, I'm giving you this CHG bath because you have a central line. You know what happens when you get a central line infection? You die.
Don't say it quite like that,
Yes.
but that's true.
So they might
They
be
don't
a
have an
little
option.
more, responsive to getting a quick little scrub down if they know they could die from not having, because they can become septic, okay? Or the same thing with their Foley catheter. If you're in there and you're making sure it's not sitting on the ground, are you doing things like that because of, evidence-based practice?
If you ask them if they want a bath, you've already failed.
Yeah.
Do not go into a patient room and ask them what they want to do. They're at the Hotel Good Sam, where you are their personal attendant. Okay? Don't ask them that. You go in, put your name on the board. I'm going to be your student nurse today. We're going to make sure that you get up and walk twice in the hallway before I leave at noon or 1 o'clock. We're going to make sure that you get up in the chair for your meals. We're going to get you a bath.
But here's what you can do, okay? When you go in there and you tell them, it's like working with a toddler, okay?
Yes.
So
Are you
Billy,
smarter than the 2-year-old?
you're getting dressed today, but do you want to wear the blue shirt or the orange shirt? Okay, you give them choices.
That you like.
Do you want to take your bath at 8 o'clock or do you want to take it at 9 o'clock? Okay, you tell them, but you give them choices
Correct.
so they feel like they still have some control in what's happening for the day. Okay, there was a lab tech go in to draw blood, and every time she said, "Is it okay if I draw your blood?" And
No!
she would walk out and say,
They didn't want
refused it." I'm like, "Oh no, you're getting back in there because I need this." Okay, they're on
Is it
heparin.
okay?
I need to know what their blood level's at. So
Is
you
this
don't
okay?
ask them if they're
No.
getting their blood drawn. You tell them they're getting their blood drawn. Okay, so there are certain things that you need to be,
Be assertive.
yeah, tell them
Because
to
you're
turn
an
their little
adult,
card around and go back in the room.
Responsible professional.
Mhm.
You only give choices that you approve of.
Yes.
Anybody here have kids?
Yeah.
Do you ask them what they want? Never.
You make it seem like they have.
It was, make it seem like it was their idea, but it was your idea.
That's the only way stuff gets done sometimes. Okay. Is that it? I felt like there was something on there that talked about being professional. Maybe I skipped over that.
Yeah, there is. 15.
Oh, 16. Whoa, did I skip a bunch?
I don't think you're done.
No, I don't think I did either. Holy cow, did you jump on me?
I moved it down so you can see
Okay,
the
that's
rest.
probably why. I was like, holy cow.
There's 20. They
All
wouldn't
right.
all fit on the screen.
I'll hurry up here. Provides teaching based on patient needs, okay? They got a new med. Are you talking to them about their new med?
Oh, yeah. So
Okay,
they-
do they love green leafy vegetables and they just got started on Coumadin? You're gonna have to do a little bit of teaching on that. Okay, which you'll learn more about in farm. So are you
Yeah,
teaching
big
them
series.
about their new diabetic meds, the procedure that they're gonna have in a half an hour, the importance of their CHG bath, okay? Therapeutic communication. Do you sound like a witch? Are you Nurse Hatchet? Or are you going in there and you're having a good adult to adult conversation with them? Okay, don't be rude. Don't let them walk all over you either sometimes, but good communication.
And don't say things that the doctor should be saying that you shouldn't be.
Don't throw other people under the bus. Okay, find something to talk with them about for the day. Yeah, kids, what are some of your hobbies?
Where are you
Find that
from?
one little
What did you
connection
used to
with them.
do?
Yep.
Find something.
Find an old man that loves to joke around and give you crap, dish it right back. Okay? I love that. Every time you
Those
go
are my
in, then
favorites.
it's, you know.
Those are my absolute favorites.
Yep. So informatics, this is charting. Okay, this is where you could get, are you able to get in the chart and look around and find what you need to find for your patient information? Do you know where to go to find their H&P, their labs, orders, that kind of thing? Can you navigate around? So that might be a struggle at first, but it's really not that hard.
You'll get better.
Yep. Professional communication techniques when interacting with members of the healthcare team and peers. Okay? You don't go up to the aide and tell her to do something. Okay? Everybody's a team. Nobody's better than you. You're not better than anybody else.
The housekeeper's your
floor.
best friend.
Yep.
She is. She's your best friend.
Something goes wrong on the floor, are you telling your nurse? You know, are you going to tell her vital signs that look off? Are you having a good communication with them? Okay. Are you having good communication with us? If you can't find your nurse, you need to come find Martha or I. Just don't let it go by the wayside. Half hour later, your patient's coding. 'Cause you'll get a 0 for the day. Let's see. Accepts responsibility and accountability for your own actions. If you mess up, it is okay, but let us know. If you make, I don't know, I think we had someone one semester.
Oh, we had a
who
med
made
error. We had a med error.
blood pressure med to somebody whose heart rates were like
Yeah.
in the 50s or something. Don't be like, oh, I didn't know. Take responsibility for it.
I think I
Okay.
goofed.
Move
I
on,
think I did this.
which is fine. I've made med errors. Have you made med errors?
Yep.
Yeah, see? But don't just brush it under the rug and hope nobody notices, because that could be really bad for the patient. Okay?
That's being honest.
Yep, so accept that responsibility and accountability for your actions, okay? Adhere to HIPAA, we've already done that, we just went through the guidelines. Already did seeks professional growth, promote patient care in a professional and caring manner. Did you advocate for your patient? Okay. Did you go talk to your nurse? Because we can't, and I wouldn't advise going to a doctor and making suggestions.
First, come to me.
Yes.
Don't call the doctor
First,
and talk to me.
come to Martha or I or your nurse for the day
Or I'll have to talk to the doc.
and say, Billy's been getting Norco every 4 hours. I don't feel like his pain is getting any better. We've tried ice, we've tried this. Is there anything else we can do for him? Okay, are you taking your eyes and letting the nurse know what you see during the day? Okay, or they're really short of breath and their SATs are this. Is there anything else we can do for them? Okay. Let's
Or you
see
might
here.
see something that's missing.
Mhm.
Or you might see some medication that your patient with liver failure is on Tylenol and, yeah, you'll learn how bad that would be.
Or someone, one semester, they had an allergy to aspirin and they had Ectorin ordered for them. And pretty much that's just the enteric-coated aspirin, but on the MAR it says Ectorin. So
So
they had an
it
allergy
got by
and it
it.
was ordered for them. Okay, so it did. It
We
went
find
through the whole-
mistakes all the time.
Yep.
And people make mistakes. Now, that's not the point, but if you find it, we can fix it.
Mhm.
But that's why you constantly have to be asking yourself questions and being a detective. That's called being a patient advocate.
And be tactful if you do find mistakes.
Yeah, well, come to me first,
Yeah.
or Heidi. Don't start running down the hall waving flags.
Yeah.
How embarrassing
Yeah.
and
Find-
unprofessional.
Right. Let's see. There's still something about being professional that maybe I missed. Show up on time. If you're late over and over again, you'll get docked on here. Maybe number 16 is where I put that. I don't know. Or 17. Or 18.
Time management
But I think
kills students.
that's it.
You'll get better. But it's vital for a nurse. Time management is vital for a nurse. Can you juggle it? Can you keep all the balls in the air at once? And at first, you can't. You ever tried to juggle? At first, it's super hard, but you get better. That's why we only start you with one patient.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, any questions? You see, this is what we're going to be grading you on that 65% right here. Now, the next page of your anecdotal will say, were you adequately prepared? Was your paperwork complete? And was your appearance appropriate? In other words, your uniform, your brain, and your paperwork. Are you ready for the day? Oh shit, I forgot my stethoscope. I don't have scissors. I don't have a pen. I don't have my badge. I can't remember my password. That's not prepared. Okay? Oh, you're gonna laugh at me, but this is an honest to God thing that happened. Did y'all know your stethoscope can be on or off?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I had a student that didn't. And the whole flippin' semester, I would ask her what she heard. Oh, I heard this and this and this and this and this. And then I borrowed her stethoscope. I'm like, your stethoscope is off. So all that stuff you've been telling me all semester, that was bullshit. That's called bing, 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 bing. You got caught. But it will go on and off. So make sure you're hearing stuff. I don't expect you to be able to tell me exactly what you hear when you're new, and it's all those sounds are new and foreign to you, but you should be hearing stuff. Okay? I'll just tell you this other part too, right now. This is just for your best interest. I despise dark, messy rooms. If I walk into your patient room and your bathroom's messy and your windowsill's messy and it's dark and the bedside table's a mess and there's crap everywhere and your patient's laying in bed that hasn't been made, I will come at you like a striped ape. Okay? I hate messy rooms. And I hate dark rooms. And sometimes that's a challenge because you got patients in there that, oh, I don't like it, I want the dark. Well, and sometimes like head injury patients, we want it dark in there. But there's those shade curtains that go over the top that diffuse the light. Or here's another trick. When they're out for something in the bathroom or out for ancillary, you clean up the room and you open the curtain. You have to treat them like a toddler sometimes. They like wallowing in self-pity and feeling sick. Some of them really do. It's a depression thing. Sunshine is good medicine. Okay? So you gotta be assertive on that point. The other thing I really hate, besides a messy room, is tangled cords, because they're dangerous. When they're wrapped around the pole, or they're wrapped around the bed, or they're wrapped around the bed rail, and the call light's all tangled up, that's dangerous. I despise tangled cords. So keep your room clean, your trash empty, and no tangled cords. Anything else? Anything else that bugs me?
But no, especially if you're like the next nurse after a shift, and the first thing, all you want to do is take a blood pressure. But you got to like pull all the cords off and untie the knot, and you're like, how did you do your job last night? Because I can't even get to the sat probe on here, and
How
it's
long has it been since you took a
IVs
temperature?
cord that are like tied together, and you're like, what did you do in your bed last night? You know, it's like, how did you do your job? So just wrap cords up nice and get
It's
it
being
out of the
that
way.
nurse.
Or your patient tries to get up and they fall and they break their shoulder, because that happened too, because they tripped on crap the
Crap
nurse
on them.
had left laying everywhere, or they pulled out their chest tube because it was wrapped around their foot. You know, just stupid stuff. So just make sure it's not because it is because I'm type A, totally, but there's good reasons for it. It's patient safety too.
That's why she's a good nurse.
Better not come after me.
And I might as well throw this in right now. Sometimes that family member or two sitting on the couch by the window, they are your best friend or your worst nightmare. They're part of your job. Better figure out how to get them in your hip pocket too. Because you know what they're probably doing? Keeping notes of everything you say and do in that room. And I am not kidding. Because they don't trust you until they have a reason to trust you. And they've been told horror stories about what happens to loved ones in the hospital if they're not on top of it. And they don't really know anything about medicine or nursing, but they're going to be on top of it. So your education that you're doing when you're talking about what you're doing in there may not be all for the patient's benefit. It may be for that family that's sitting in there watching you and taking notes. Just saying, cover yourself. Part of your job. Everything you say and do in that room is on display. Here are the questions that you're going to be covering in your anecdotal. You're going to talk about the encounters you had this week. Like, I had this patient who was admitted that's homeless. He hadn't eaten in 4 days. He's got necrotic areas on his lower legs. He drinks. He has no family that we could get in touch with, and he's here because of necrotic areas on his legs. Or he's here for whatever, okay? And you may have 3 or 4 patients that you have to talk about in that, just a sentence or two about that patient, what they are. This was an 86-year-old male admitted from the nursing home because he fell. And he has a history of this and this and this. That helps me remember which patient it was. Okay? then what do you know about this situation? Well, I know that this homeless guy is diabetic and he's homeless, so he doesn't take his insulin, and his nutrition is poor, and because he drinks, his blood sugars are out of control. So I know that contributes to the necrotic areas that he has on his feet. That tells me you're starting to think like a nurse. Okay. What skills did you apply to this situation? Well, what did you do as a nurse that helped this situation? What do you have to do in this situation?
Don't put CNA stuff.
Don't tell me you gave him a bath.
Or put on Ted hose.
Or put on his TED. Yeah. Tell me what you did. What kind of meds were you giving? What were you trying to do? What was your goal here? What do you think about this situation? Well, when I started, I thought he was a real loser and he was just a drunk, but I found out that he really is trying, and he, whatever. Or maybe you found out that this person that fell at the nursing home, what did you learn about the situation as you took care of him? I guarantee you, from the start to your end of your shift, you may change your mind. It may be for the better, it may be for the worse. But what are your thoughts about the situation? Don't say, well, I didn't really think anything different from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
After considering the situation, was your interpretation similar or different from what really happened? Well, when I started the shift, I thought this and this and this and this, but after I did it a while, I noticed that, this and that. Well, that tells me you learned something and you were actually engaged, and I don't want to hear CNA stuff. Now, sometimes you're going to include something, like you're going to say, well, this guy totally refused to take a bath. He wouldn't walk in the hall, but I had to do this education with him, and I finally got him to do this and this. And here's how I did it.
So I used therapeutic communication.
Oh, yeah, that's what that is. This one is my personal favorite. Describe 3 ways your nursing care or skills expanded. Focused on licensed nursing skills, not CNA skills. Name 3 things that you would do differently in this situation next time. So that means you actually figured out, well, this didn't work, so next time I'm going to try that. Describe any changes in your values or feelings as a result of this experience. Don't tell me I didn't have any changes. Yes, you did. And then that additional comments, that's anything else you want me to know, or you want to say, or you think I should know, or something that you really liked, or something you didn't like, even if it's what I did or said. Okay, that's where you and I communicate. And then down here, that's where I write what I didn't like about what you did and said, or what I liked. Okay, so this is a communication piece that's not about your patient. Okay, then you sign it when you hand it in. You've signed it. And you already put the date on the beginning. And then you put the date that the experience goes on the front. The date you give it to me goes right here. Then I grade it and sign it, and I also put a date on there. And then it goes back in my folder right here. And then the next week when you come to class, you can dig in here and get that anecdotal out and read it. I expect you to. I expect you to do that. And when you do, you initial right here where it says feedback. All right? That way, when you come and you say, well, I never got any feedback from my instructor. She never watched me and she never said anything to me. That's why that's here, because I've had students tell me that. She never told me anything, and then she failed me. Guarantee you that's a line of crock of you know what. Okay? But that's why that's there. You'll notice this was redone in 2018. This is all spring of 18 crap.
Yes.
We had a lovely bunch. Any questions? I'm really a pussycat.
Bark is worse than her bite.
I know. However, I just want to know up front.
The one you really have to worry about is me.
Yes,
I
right.
seem nice.
Yeah, she looks good on the outside.
Don't piss me off.
She'll slit your throat. Okay.
Don't cheat on your papers.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's my part.
I'm gonna let her talk about that.
Right now?
Yeah, why not? Oh, wait.
Oh, okay.
Prep sheets.
Sorry.
Okay, do you want them to, should we have them go to the floor and prep on Wednesday, or shall we just start on Thursday? We'll start on Thursday.
Just do it on Thursday.
Or do you wanna do them on Wednesday?
I just feel bad for the people who have to come in from out of town for
I
that
know.
unless they're here already.
Does everybody come to school on Wednesday sometime?
Yeah, we have
Do
class.
you, Sarah?
They have you. You
I
guys have
know,
med
in the
surg?
morning they do.
Oh. Yeah, so we'd have to have assignments by like,
Well, no, but they might be able to hang around for a while, I don't know. I know, it's a problem
probably
for
wouldn't
people
be
that have
able
to come in.
sometimes dismissals don't even happen till like
I know,
4 or 5
5
o'clock.
o'clock.
I feel like I would have more anxiety.
What?
I would have more anxiety.
Doing
going
what?
the day before.
Coming in the day before?
Yeah.
How about this? If your preparation in the morning is inadequate for the day, we will make you start coming in
Yeah, we'll let them come in.
Wednesday night to prep. So if you can prove to us that you can get there at 5:45 in the morning and be on time and take your assignment and do the proper digging, then we will do preparation in the morning. But if you can't, if you don't know your meds, then you'll start coming the night before. Sound good? Everybody okay with that? Raise your hand, yeah? Good? Okay, all right.
Okay, so I have 2 different prep sheets included in your Moodle. You will not be doing 2 at once. Okay, you'll do one or the other. And I will tell you which one. Okay? There's one that says prep sheet. All right? And it looks like this. And basically what it is it asks your patient information up here, their code status, their height, their weight, if they're a smoker, their Braden scale, all those things. Then it will ask for the primary medical diagnosis. The primary medical diagnosis is why they're there. Oh, they're having a lap chole because they're having their gallbladder taken out. Okay. The
They might be a
pri-
diabetic, but they're in that day to get their foot amputated.
Or they're having a gallbladder out. That's why they were admitted. What are they doing? Well, they're gonna do surgery, they're gonna do x-rays, they've done a CT scan, they've done all these procedures, kinds of things, okay? Maybe they did a debridement, whatever. Down here, it says secondary medical diagnosis, and you notice there's 2 boxes there? Because some of these people will have 25 other diagnoses. But they weren't what they were admitted for up here. And I never fails, I'll have students that will say, well, they didn't have any others. Really, why did you think you're on 25 meds? Well, it didn't say that. No, it didn't. Because it expected you to apply critical thinking and say they're on thyroid medicine because they have a thyroid problem. And they're on blood pressure medicine because they have a blood pressure problem. And they're on, all those other meds. They're on Prilosec because they have GERD. They're not getting medicine for no reason. Well, they didn't have high blood pressure. Well, that's because you're giving them their blood pressure medicine. Honest to God, happens every semester. They don't have high blood pressure. Well, they're on 3 blood pressure meds, and you gave them.
Not rocket science.
That tells me you aren't applying critical thinking to the situation. Okay? So, you fill in all the secondary diagnosis here. Then it asks for diagnostic tests, which might be different than the procedures they were doing. Then there's a whole big page of labs. And you'll notice that it's the lab test, when they did it, what the normal value is supposed to be, if your patient was high or low, and then what does that mean? What does it mean? Client results, that's like what it looks like in your patient. How did it appear in your patient? You know, that fact that their sodium was like way low? What were the client results of that low sodium? And then over here, what does that mean? Why is that why is that important? Okay. I don't have to have it all in this format if we're not using this form, but you need to know these things. Why would they do the lab? Oh, and then they did a CBC. Here's another thing that will happen sometimes. They do a CBC and everything in it is normal. But there's like a whole bunch of different labs in that CBC, because you already looked at that video, right? And so you can put, under lab test, you can put CBC. You don't have to put individual tests within normal limits. If the whole panel was within normal limits, just write it there. Or maybe they did a CBC and it was all within normal limits except their hemoglobin. Just put the hemoglobin there. Yeah, because otherwise it's like 15 pages.
Yeah, that's what we're.
I definitely need abnormals. But if you look in there and you have no labs, and they did a CBC and they did a BMP and they were both normal, just put them there and put within normal limits. Okay? Because that tells me something. When I know that the BMP is normal and the CBC is normal. That tells me a lot. Should tell you a lot. Told the doc a lot, that's why he ordered them. Okay? The most important thing is, do you recognize they're abnormal and what that means in your patient? Okay, same way with the medications. Okay, when do they get them? What is it? What's their dose? When you look in your med book, what's the usual dose for this particular ailment? And that is a thing, because in the med book, you might have a usual dose for one medical problem, but that's not the usual dose for this other medical problem. And it'll tell you that in the drug book. Get familiar with that, baby. We made you buy it for a reason. Then the pharmacological classification and action. What is its action? Don't copy a bunch of gobbledygook out of the book. Okay?
Yeah, layman's terms.
Don't
You could read it and
do
put
it.
it into 4 or 5 words.
Because here's what'll happen.
I don't want it to say binds to the blah 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 receptor and blah 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 blah. Like, okay, well just tell me what it does, okay? Because do you understand that if you're reading it right out of a drug book? I want you to write it as you understand it, okay?
Or maybe it's metabolized in the liver, and this person has liver failure. That's a problem. Why did they prescribe it? That will save you from those missing secondary diagnosis up there, because they didn't give that medicine for no reason. So if you can't figure out why they prescribed it, you better do some more digging.
And you might find that what they're getting it for is not what it is normally used for.
Correct. Or you can always ask the patient. Sometimes they know why they're getting this. I noticed that you're getting blah, 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 and I don't see why are you getting that? Why are you getting that? How long have you been taking that?
Gabapentin is one of them. It says, you'll find it in the drug book, it says it's an anti-epileptic. Okay, well, your patient might not have seizures, but it's also for nerve pain. A lot of diabetics, that's probably the actual reason that they're getting it.
Spironolactone's like that too.
So you might not always,
And that forman's used for something else too besides like
Yeah.
diabetics, and I can't remember what it is, cause I remember coming across that.
Same with
not long
Prazone.
ago at work.
yeah, so you'll
Yeah.
find things that they usually are for one thing, but that's not why your patient's getting it. So be able to make those connections too. Because if you tell me that on your care map, I can be like, nope, that's not what they're getting it for, or aspirin. Okay, don't tell me that
It's for
they're
pain.
getting it for pain, because your patient will never, ever, 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 ever get patient, or get aspirin on the floor for pain. It might be in an Excedrin, okay, so, and that's a pain med, but your patient will never be prescribed aspirin for pain. It's a blood thinner, it's a platelet aggregate, keeps it from sticking,
That would be the classification.
prevents blood clots, okay?
How it works.
Do not tell me it's for pain. I will laugh at you. I don't laugh at people very often.
Yes, she does. And then the nursing implications over here. That means because my patient's taking this medication with all this stuff that I just gave you, as a nurse, I need to know this and this and this. In other words, that Coumadin that they're taking at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which does all these things, it has a side effect of being an anti-clotting medication. I better teach them not to change their amount of green leafies. I better teach them to wear their shoes when they're walking so they don't stub their toe and bleed. I better teach them about shaving, toothbrushes. As a nurse, what does that mean to me as a nurse? Okay, that's the nursing implications. Now, this particular form, prep sheet, has lots of directions on it. Like it makes you list all these things separately as a box for them. If we move to the other prep sheet, it no longer has this nice table with boxes for you to fill in. This does not mean I do not require the same information. It just means it's not laid out the same way on the other prep sheet. It's assuming that you understand that all this is important for you to know. Does that make sense to you? Yes? Okay. Yes? Okay. Then we get down to the bottom and we get nursing process number 1 and nursing process number 2. I require nursing processes. I despise them. However, they are required in our paperwork. And if I don't actually make you do them each week, we'll get to the care maps and you'll give me a nursing process that gets you no points out of 50. And they're worth about 10 points
Yeah,
on
10 or 12.
your care map, or 15 points. I don't know, they're worth a lot of points on your care map.
If you struggle with these, come find us early on. You should have a care plan book or nursing diagnosis book. Okay? And
You
can go
can't
off
make
of-
them up.
No. But there's a list in the back and there's like hundreds of them. So don't say, my patient doesn't have one. I'm like, I have at least 10 in that book, okay? That I could find just for myself. There's sleep deprivation, there's a whole bunch of stuff, okay? So go back,
I think
look at, antipsychotic, yeah. So you can find stuff in the back and then go look up those nursing diagnoses and look at the stuff that it talks about. Does this apply to my patient? Nope, it's not what I thought it was. So make a list of what you think would apply and then go in the book and pick out the pieces that actually apply to your patient and then write your stuff off of that.
And then maybe spin them off your friends, see if they make sense to them. Bump them off of each other a couple times. You'll all learn from that, okay? So you start with your problem, which is your nursing diagnosis that she's talking about. Related to, this is really important, it cannot be a medical diagnosis.
Or surgery.
Or a procedure. In other words, pain is the problem. Acute pain, I think, is how it's listed in the diagnosis. It can't be related to Amputation of their left leg. That's a procedure and a medical diagnosis. Can't use that. But I think it's called altered tissue integrity or something.
Yep, look.
But if you look in that care plan book, it'll tell you exactly what works.
Right.
Learn to use the care plan book. And it's not really straightforward. You have to kind of mess around in that care plan book. I know this is like really foreign to you because you're all young. It's kind of like learning a new program on your computer or a new game on your computer, only it's paper. Okay? It requires a little practice. And then, as manifested by, that's the A and B, subjective data. What is subjective data? What? What the patient says
Something they say, subjective say.
or they report. Okay? And what is objective data? What you can see and what you can measure. Don't get them mixed up. What if you tell me your patient has a risk for something? If you have a patient who has a risk for something, they don't have any subjective or objective information because they don't have the problem. They are at risk for the problem. So therefore, you go down here and you list what their risks are.
And there's a special way to do them, and unless you specifically know how to do a risk for, don't do it.
I think it's an example though. I think they had that in basic, right?
Yes, but I hate risk for because nobody ever does them correctly, and I just have to take off all your points. So you're better off finding one that actually exists. And don't tell me that a risk for is number 1, and then they actually have a problem, and then that's number 5. Because how is the risk for actually a higher priority?
That's
Because
something they already have.
Then they don't even have it.
You never, 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 ever put a risk for diagnosis above an actual diagnosis.
Or don't use it at all.
Okay? I could maybe make a case if your patient had septic shock and you have all these other diagnoses, they might have a risk for respiratory failure. But you aren't going to list it as respiratory failure, obviously, because that's not a diagnosis. But that is a big risk. But you can find actuals they're going to be actuals if there's risks. Okay, then we have the short-term goal. It is very important that you write these correctly because you'll lose all your points in this column under nursing diagnosis and you'll lose the rest of them under goals and outcomes. All right, short-term goal. Here's what I want to do this shift, or here's what I want to do this morning. That's their short-term goal. Patient will blah, 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 blah.
And it says on your care map rubrics on the back, I believe it spells out how to do each and every one of these.
Yes, all this stuff I'm talking about
It
is
gives you
there.
examples. So I think it says maybe rephrase your problem into a positive is your short-term goal. So if your patient has acute pain, your short-term goal, God, I think I'm having a stroke. Your short-term goal should be patient will rate pain no higher than a 3 out of 10 in a 12-hour period. Okay, you have to be able to measure it, and you have to have time frames.
I'm even more, you have to even have more than that. So write this down. Your goals and your outcomes have to be timed, measurable, specific, and reasonable. If you do not have those items in there, I will take off your points. Timed, measurable, specific, and reasonable. You will start them with patient will walk 10 feet in hallway this shift. That's timed, this shift, measurable, 10 feet, it's reasonable, unless they don't walk, and then it's not reasonable, and it's specific. When you have trouble with these is when you don't include those 4 things, because your goals won't make sense. And then, number 1 outcome here that you wrote that was timed, measurable, specific, and reasonable. When you come over here to the evaluation, it's easy to evaluate because if they didn't walk 10 feet, they only walked 5, you didn't meet your goal. Okay? But if you didn't write time, measurable, reasonable, and specific over here, you can't evaluate it. Okay? That's where people lose their points. They write their goals and outcomes poorly. Because they didn't write their nursing diagnosis properly. So they can't write good goals and outcomes because they didn't know what their diagnosis was to start with. Then comes the nursing interventions, and it will tell you in your care map how many you're supposed to have for each one. Okay? And you're going to tell me the nursing interventions for number 1. You're going to tell me the nursing interventions that you're going to do in order for the patient to meet those outcomes. All right? So column number 2 is patient will, blah, 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 blah. And nursing interventions is the nurse is going to do this and this and this so that the patient will be able to do these things. Okay, does that make sense? And then over here is the rationale. The rationale is why the nurse is going to do this. So the nurse is going to get them up in the chair. Why? So they don't choke on their food. This is the why for the intervention. Why you think that intervention is a good idea. Or why you think that intervention will help. All right? Does that make sense to you? And you've had this before, right? This all makes, like, it's just review of what you already learned. On your care maps, you're required to have 2 of these, I believe, on with your care map. And you notice that they're on the number 1 priority and the number 2 priority.
So it doesn't have to be like physical and 1 psychosocial?
No. What is the most pressing problem and the second most pressing problem? Now, that's sort of a gray area sometimes because what Heidi might think is the most pressing problem, I might say, yeah, but I think this is the most pressing problem because of this and this and this. That's why you're putting in the goals and outcomes and the rationale and the interventions, because that's what you're thinking. Okay? So sometimes I'll let those like move around a little bit in priorities, but only if you're able to show me why that's number 1, number 2. Right? Make sense?
A lot of this stuff is on your care map, and sometimes this is the only thing you have to go off of when you're doing your care maps, because some people aren't very good about saying this is the patient I'm going to use for my care maps. Then you have to go back and fill out your care map based on how you filled this paper out. And so if you didn't put diddly squat on there, you're not going to have anything, because I don't remember patient names.
I never remember names.
So if you say, I'll just go back and look in the computer, even a week later, I'm like, I have no idea who you had. So you have no way of getting that information. So either decide right away who you're going to do it on, or fill these out really, really good so that you have that information to go off of for your care maps.
And this is like what we fill out when we get to the hospital in the morning?
No. This, I want 1 nursing process with your anecdotal and at the end of each week. And I'm solely putting it in there because I want you to practice writing it and me to show you what you're doing wrong. So when it comes to your care map, you're not making those mistakes.
But like, this is, I guess, like when we do our prep work, when we get to the,
This whole prep sheet?
yeah, that's,
Yes.
yeah, that's like,
Yes.
that's what I,
Yes.
okay.
But you don't have to have it all done.
No, just,
unless I tell you to. Sometimes I let you fill it in during the day. Or I give it to you and I'll say, here's your patient assignment, and you've got from now until you start to collect this information, get busy. There's real life, nurses don't spend 6 hours prepping for a patient. Never, ever. They don't even spend an hour on 6 patients. They don't have that kind of luxury. I know that you're a student and you don't know where to focus your energies right now. That's what we're teaching you. Okay? But each week I want one nursing process with your anecdotal. Okay?
Can you give an example of a short-term goal?
I think just like the pain one.
That was a goal and not an outcome.
Well, if you want their pain to be, I don't know, let's say they have chronic pain, but maybe they always rate their pain at like an 8, and your goal for the day could be that it maybe gets down to a 6. Like they're still gonna have the pain. Maybe your outcomes are, you could say, hold on, maybe they do different things based off of what their pain is for the day. Patient was able to
Walk in the hall 3 times. They
or
were able
patient
to
do their
sit
daily.
up in the chair,
Yeah.
take a shower.
So it's still based off of their pain, but since their problem was chronic pain, your short-term goal can maybe to get them from an 8 to a 6 or an 8 to a 7, because you're probably not going to get rid of it if it's chronic. So your outcomes that prove that you're meeting your goal are going to be things that they are able to do because you met that goal. Because you got them down to a 6 instead of an 8, they could sit up in the chair for breakfast, or they could walk 15 feet versus 10 feet in the hall, or, from the nurse's station to this, when normally they couldn't do.
By the same token, you might have written a different type of a short-term goal, and that pain control that you set up here, that might be one of your outcomes. So it's all about how you write your diagnosis related to what you're finding for data that sets up what you have to do for that patient.
Or maybe they have activity intolerance. Maybe your short-term goal is for them to walk a certain distance. So one of your outcomes might be something related to their pain, because that's why they're having problems with activity.
Or it might be their attitude.
Yeah, might be their attitude. So you give them
Okay.
an Ativan and call it a day.
Or take a Xanax. Never mind, I didn't say that. So this is one form. All right? I have an alternative form. It's called the Rapid Reasoning Tool. This is an alternative prep sheet which will be directed to you. You'll be directed to use as if you become more comfortable on the floor. Real nurses do not have time to prep ever. As a student, you're being trained to think like a nurse. However, this is a process. So we will be using the prep sheet listed in your Moodle site or the Rapid Reasoning Tool listed here, not both. We will begin by using the prep sheet because it really spells everything out. I want to go over the Rapid Reasoning Tool. The Rapid Reasoning Tool has many of the same things, as I said. They're just not boxes to put them all in, okay? So, history of their present problem. What are they here for? And here's why they're here. Personal, social history. Any contributing factors there. You notice it didn't say primary diagnosis and secondary diagnosis? It's assuming that you get it, okay? That you know all those things are involved. So what is relevant data from their present problem? And what is the clinical significance for that? What is their relevant social history and what is the clinical significance of that? In other words, I know this and this and this about my patient, and because of this, I'm going to have to be careful of this and pay attention to that. There's so much, isn't there? Okay? What is the relationship of their past medical history and their current medications? You know that column on the med list on the first sheet? that said, why are they getting all this stuff? I'm not asking you all that. But I am asking you what all their past medical history is and what they're taking because of it. I'm asking you the same questions. I'm just asking you to give me a different format. Less structured format. Because this rapid reasoning tool assumes that you're making connections in your brain. Same way with the labs, okay? What labs? Well, here's the BMP and there's a CBC. And over here, blood glucose. Maybe your patient doesn't have blood glucose checks. You don't have anything there. But maybe they have some other pertinent labs that aren't listed here. Put them in. Okay? But the CBC and the BMP, they're the most important. Most patients will have at least one, maybe more of that. Then, are there other lab results that are relevant that you have to recognize as significant to your patient? And this is really important. The trend. Is it getting better? Well, when they came in, it was this. But 3 days later, today, it's this. Is it getting better? Or is it getting worse? Or this morning at this time it was this, but 2 hours later it's this. Is it getting better or is it getting worse? That's significant, right? Vital signs, better tell me what time and what you got. So, in this vital sign data that you've been collecting up here, what is significant? What is something that is relevant to your patient and significant to your patient?
So like, let's say they're on like a blood pressure medicine, do you want us to put like that, like, vital sign in, like, blood pressure in normal
Yeah.
ranges?
Yeah, tell me what it was.
Okay, and then just be like, blood pressure medication adequate or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, or maybe you don't give the blood pressure medication because it's within normal limits, but an hour later, because you didn't give that medicine at that time, it's up. So you can go in and give it the medicine then. Because you can't give it if it's below a certain level, right? Well, you better not. And then later, because they didn't get that medicine, they need it. So then we give it.
Okay.
Same with their pain medicine. You know, they don't need it. It's 2 out of 10, but an hour later, it's 5 out of 10. Well, we better give it.
So there you're kind of looking for, like, I don't wanna say abnormals, but like even if they're-
Significance.
Right, so if like their temp is normal, we don't need to put their temp and their pulse and like everything.
Well, you put that on your,
Right,
when you
but-
take your vitals up in your data, but the relevance, their temps within normal limits. Good deal.
Okay.
We fixed them. You know. Was there another question?
Well, is it okay if I go to the bathroom real quick?
Oh, yeah. If you guys need a break, it's 10:30.